progressive rock, or you might call it prog rock. It's known for its complex compositions, its use of synthesizers or other electronic instruments, its kind of odd lyrics, and it's often a maligned genre of rock music. Some people consider it a little too pretentious or bombastic or overblown or even silly. And you know, there's a lot of validity to that argument too. I mean, there's a reason why they made fun of prog rock in the Spinal Tap film with the Stonehenge sequence. But you know, if you think about it, other bands known for more traditional type of rock music have dabbled in prog rock before, such as Jethro Tull or even the Grateful Dead with Terrapin Station, and even some kind of crossover type bands like the Mahavishnu Orchestra with their jazz fusion, prog rock type of mix. And there are some prog rock bands that I really like a lot, though not all of their output, such as King Crimson and the Moody Blues. But for my money, there are two prog rock bands that stand out, and that would be Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Yes. And I would give Yes the edge over Emerson, Lake and Palmer. And that's what I want to talk about today. This is the Kazdoy Closet. I'm Kazdoy. That's my closet full of all the stuff that I love. And today I want to talk about the best prog rock band. Yes, it is Yes. So these first two CDs I want to show you by Yes are, you know, really probably just for completists only. This is their first album in 1969, and a lot of these have come out with these expanded and remastered editions. I think they've been remastered since I bought this one a while ago. There is the American cover, I believe, and this was the cover in England. The interesting thing about their first album, though they haven't really found their real sound yet, is they have a Beatles cover on here, Every Little Thing, and then one of the bonus tracks they have Something's Coming, which is a Sondheim cover, so a little bit different there. Then they made Time and a Word, and again, this is the British cover, this is the American cover here. Still trying to find their way with their music. I think the longest song is maybe 6.5 minutes long, and if you know Yes at all, they have songs far longer than that, as we'll see. Interesting thing about this is they do have a cover song from Richie Havens and another one from Stephen Stills. The Yes album is really when they start getting their unique sound. This is when Steve Howe, Guitar God, joins the band, and we have songs that are 9 minutes in length, including some of their classics like Yours Is No Disgrace, Starship Trooper, Perpetual Change. So this is really when they start to come into their own. Then their big breakthrough was Fragile. And Fragile had the first cover of many by the artist Roger Dean. And then it had their really big hit, Roundabout. And The Fish is a song that really showcases Chris Squire, the bass player. Now, Chris Squire and John Anderson, the lead singer, were really the two founders of Yes, and they're the most consistent members of the band through all the years. Also in this album you have Rick Wakeman joining on keyboards, and he also is a virtuoso musician. An interesting bonus track on here is America. That's the Paul Simon song, and it sounds nothing like Paul Simon's song, and it's quite a bit longer. And I heard that they did hear back from Paul Simon, that he did hear it, and he sort of gave it faint praise. I don't think it was quite his thing. But Fragile, you know, it's not my favorite album, though it has some great ones, but it has a lot of short little kind of fragments for me. So, but this is, along with the Yes album, the one I just showed you, is the first in their line of really great albums. And that was followed up by an album that was recently voted Best Prog Album by Prog Magazine. It's an English music magazine. And that's Close to the Edge. And Close to the Edge, the original album, filled up the entire side of one side of the album, and there were only 2 songs on the other side. And there's your classic lineup. You still have Bill Bruford on percussion. He didn't stay with the group much longer after this, but Close to the Edge is one of my favorites. I think it's about 18 minutes long, and I must have heard that song in various versions hundreds of times over the years. And a good thing about the song Close to the Edge is it's one of the songs Steve Howe really stretches out on when he plays the guitar solos on that. And they follow that up with this live set called Yes Songs. Now, even though it says 2 CD here, this was a triple album when it came out, and that was pretty unusual. And this is really like a greatest hits compilation, but it's live. And this is the concert I saw. It was either 72 or 73. I saw them at the Forum, first time I saw them, and it really blew me away. This is the last CD, or the last appearance from Bill Bruford on drums. And later on they asked him, well, how do you define Yes music? And he said, some of it's slow and some of it's fast. And he went on to a career with King Crimson and then his own band. Alan White joined on drums during part of this collection, and he played on the White Album with the Beatles. So this has all their great stuff. It even has the entire Close to the Edge album on here. And it has some solos from, there's a solo, Mood for a Day, from Steve Howe, and then Rick Wakeman's solo from Six Wives of Henry VIII. And then, like I mentioned, Chris Squire, may he rest in peace, on The Fish, really stretches out and does a great solo bass performance on that. I think he's one of the best bass players ever. So if you don't have any Yes CDs and you're at all curious, that's the one to get, or the one to listen to. After that, they made Tales from Topographic Oceans, which is kind of a divisive album. It was a double album, and there were only 4 songs, so 1 song on each side of the double album. Wakeman was not very happy about this. He thought these things were too long and maybe a little too pretentious. They're based on some sort of Sanskrit writings. I really love this one, so even though it's maligned by a lot of people. And I also saw this tour. This was at the Hollywood Bowl that I saw it, and with very elaborate stage setup by Roger Dean, who again did this cover. But I also heard recently that the band was not very happy during that tour, but I couldn't tell. Relayer was the next really great album they put out. Again, we have a long selection on here. This is called The Gates of Delirium. It takes up one entire side of the original album. It's about 20 minutes long. Patrick Moraz took over as the keyboardist. He does a really good job. Now, the current Yes lineup planned to do a Relayer tour along with some other classic Yes songs. That got postponed because of the pandemic, but I'll talk about the current lineup later. And then what I think is their last really great album is Going for the One. Now, Patrick Moraz is out on keyboards, and Rick Wakeman returns, and there are a couple of tracks that are rather long and really good concert tracks also, like Parallels and Awaken. And a lot of energy on this. It's sort of a newfound energy, I think, on this one. Then we have some kind of odd selections here, including Yes shows. There are 2 very long tracks on this one, and it's a double album and includes songs from mainly from Going for the One, Relayer, and it looks like Tales from Topographic Oceans. Some of these live shows feature Patrick Moraz. Some of them feature Rick Wakeman on keyboards. The sound quality on this, not very good. And the kind of an experimental one was called Magnification. And the interesting thing about this is there are no keyboards. And some people said, well, you know what? Yes is mainly a guitar band anyway, so who cares if there's no keyboards? It's okay. I don't think it's that great. One really nice thing about this is there's an extra disc in here that has 2 live tracks, including The Gates of Delirium from the Relayer album, which is a very, very challenging piece to perform. Then they brought out a couple of other live sets. This is Keys to Ascension, and this again is the classic lineup with Wakeman and Alan White and Steve Howe, of course. And then you have 1 disc with mostly all live selections, including a live performance of America. It's kind of a rare. And then on the second disc, you had 2 more live tracks and then a couple of new studio tracks. They followed that up with another 2-disc one called Keys to Ascension 2, and again a mix. The same lineup, and then again a mix of live in San Luis Obispo, and then some new studio tracks. Then finally they did sort of an offshoot. Now I think Chris Squire is the only one that was allowed to use the name Yes. So this is called An Evening of Yes Music Plus. And there was a band called Anderson, Wakeman, Bruford House. So Bruford came back as the drummer, and the 4 guys went out on tour, and they showcased an album they did together in the studio, and then they did some live Yes stuff also, and they put it all together on this live CD. I do have another a DVD, which is worth noting. And this is Yes Symphonic Live, and this is with a full orchestra, and it's really something special. This is a 2-disc set, I believe. Nope, I think it's 1 disc, but it's got an awful lot of music on it. There's 2 discs, and really good stuff. I wish I had gotten the CD. I don't think it's available unless you want to pay, from what I saw, $900, which is ridiculous. You know, the good thing about all of this Yes stuff is there's so much of it on streaming services. For example, on Spotify. This is on there. A bunch of remixes are on there. And then even this box set is on there. Now this is really just for the fans. This is called Progeny, 7 shows from 72. So there's a little book in here. Their famous logo, talking all about the shows. And then there are 7 discs. And the ridiculous thing about this is each of these discs, it's the same set list. There are no differences in the songs at all. So it's really for the super fan, I think, of which I am, of course. But you can tell some differences in some of the performances, in certain parts of the songs. But the songs are so precise and the music is so tight that there's only a few places where you can really stretch out, like Steve Howe during a guitar solo, or Rick Wakeman has a solo spot in each concert, and those vary quite a bit. But this whole thing is on streaming services. At least it's on Spotify also. Now, the last concert I saw was a few years back when Rick Wakeman came back. It was the classic lineup, and I saw it at the Universal Amphitheater, and it was rather disappointing, mainly because the sound was just terrible. And I'm not an audiophile at all, but I could tell the sound was so muddy. And the sad part was at one point the lead singer, John Anderson, kind of tripped over one of the chords. And later on I read that he was not feeling well, and he was on a lot of cold medication. So, that was kind of sad, but still doesn't ruin the fact that I really like them a lot. The current lineup of Yes really has no original members. Chris Squire wasn't there until he passed away. Steve Howe is still in there, but he's not an original member. John Anderson's not involved. Some people disparage it now as it's more of a tribute band because there's no original members in it. They don't have the same energy. They have moments, and there's some stuff you can check out. That's a lot their live stuff, but it's not quite the same. Now, John Anderson and Trevor Rabin, who was in a later edition of Yes on guitar, and Rick Wakeman went out not too long ago on tour as ARW, and they have some live stuff you can check out. One was a live set at the famous Apollo Theater. So those are the CDs I wanted to point out to you, and then I'm going to go back in front of the closet here and end on a kind of an interesting personal note. So those are my thoughts about the great prog rock band Yes, and hopefully I didn't geek out too much on it because I just like them so much. For there was a while where I didn't listen to them at all. I thought it might be kind of embarrassing to listen to them because I associated so much with going to high school. But once I rediscovered Yes, I just love it. And my son works at Starbucks. He's 22. And he came home from work one day and he said, "Have you ever heard of a band called Yes?" And I said, "Of course I have. I even have a t-shirt and I have all those CDs you saw, way too many." And he said, "Oh, because the bass player came in." And I thought, okay, well, it can't be Chris Squire because unfortunately he passed away. So it was the new bass player, Billy Sherwood. And I said, "Oh yeah, I'm a huge fan." And he said, "All right, well, I'll tell him next time he comes in." So he told Billy next time that he came in, and Billy said, "Oh, great, I'm going to bring a coffee mug, a Yes coffee mug for your dad." Well, so the next time he came in, there was no coffee mug, but he did bring this. This is a box of guitar picks with the Yes logo on it. You can't hear it too well, and I thought that is so cool, and it's still wrapped up in plastic, and I'm not going to take that off. So here's my last thing, Yes item I want to show you. Anyways, hope you like this video. Feel free to leave a comment, maybe a progressive rock band that you really like, or maybe your love of Yes, or maybe you've seen them in concert before. Leave a thumbs up if you want to. Don't leave a thumbs down. Subscribe would be great. Otherwise, I want to thank you for watching this video, and I will see you next time.